Hi, I am Teresa Odell, and I'm going to be sharing a testimony. 3 weeks ago, I went to my annual mammogram appointment, and then the next day, the nurse called and said that I needed to make a sonogram appointment because the doctor had seen a something suspicious in my left breast. So I made that appointment and went there a few days later, and then they did the sonogram, and then the doctor came in and told me that they're still seeing something that was concerning and that he wanted to do a biopsy. So when he left, he was like, well, I'm sorry I have to tell you that. And then the nurse kind of acted like, it could be serious. So I left, feeling a little anxious. And by the time I got to my vehicle, fear was taking over. And, I was thinking it was, could be really serious and, could be cancerous. And then I was going to die. And started crying off and on. And well, then later in the day, I got control of my feelings and thoughts, and I started praying about everything. And then, I thought, God is my healer, and I thought that I'm going to, if something happens and it is, cancerous, and I'm going to do everything in my power to fight. And the one thing I decided I needed to eat healthier, and then I did start taking ivermectin daily. And then somebody had said that, your words do matter, what you speak, and to speak life over your body. And so that's what I started doing. I didn't go to God and like I sometimes do and beg him, to heal me. And I just started, speaking life over my body. And I did that daily, several times throughout the day, just out loud, just speaking life over my body. And then I'd made the biopsy appointment on a Monday. Well, then the Saturday before, I was in a town and I saw a guy standing there holding a sign that said he needed help. And it was just like the Lord just said, give him $2. And in my mind, I was thinking, well, what about $5? And then I heard the Lord say, no, $2. So I get up to the guy, and then I give him the $2. And then in a compassionate and just powerful way, he said, God bless you. And earlier that morning, I noticed that my arm had been swollen, maybe from the sonogram. But then like 15 minutes after I'd given the guy money, I noticed my arm again. I was like, well, the swollen it's just gone. And then I didn't think any more about it. So then Sunday came, and Sunday evening I sent an email to the church having them pray for my biopsy the next day. And then something else had happened that upset me, and then I was starting to let fear take over again, and then upset about the biopsy because I didn't really want to have to do the biopsy. And so I went to my bedroom and sit on the bed, and then all of a sudden it was like God's presence was right there with me. It's like he was holding me, and he was telling me everything was going to be okay. And and he said, I'm going to be in the biopsy room with you tomorrow. And he just said, go on with your evening, and it's going to be okay. And so I did. And after that, I had such peace the rest of the evening, didn't think about it anymore. And then Monday came, and I went to the appointment. And So then, we got in the room with the nurse and she explained how everything was going to work. And then we go to the room where the sonogram was that we did the other day, and so she had the sonogram ready because they had to be watching the screen, and the doctor was in there and he was watching the screen because he said if they couldn't find, or they couldn't do the biopsy unless they found exactly where it was. And so the nurse doing the sonogram, she had the probe looking for the spot, and I mean, it was maybe 5 minutes, maybe not that long. And then the other nurse that was in there said something about, well, did you say something to make it go away or something like that? And I wasn't for sure what she was talking about because I didn't know, what was going on. So I didn't say anything. And then the doctor took the probe and he was like, let me see. And then he kept searching and for another few minutes. And then he was like, well, did you pray about this? And I said, yes. And he's like, well, it must have worked because it's gone. And then he moved over to the computer where the other nurse was and looking at my past sonogram, and he told the sonogram nurse to keep looking. But then tears just started coming in my eyes, and because I knew as soon as he said that, I knew that God had healed me, taken it away. And I mean, just joy just came over me. And then he came back over there and he said, well, I guess we're done, and I'm sorry for wasting your time. And I was like, no, it wasn't a waste because this is great news. And then so the nurse took me back into the other room, and and she let me get dressed, and then then she come back in and then said I was free to go. And then so I get out to my vehicle, and I'm just tears are just flowing. And the joy and happiness and everything that of knowing that that God was with me. And I just kept crying off and on throughout the rest of the day, and just praising him. And then I got to thinking about how he healed me. Was it I thought back at that Saturday and how I was obedient to God. And I don't know why he said $2, but I was thinking back at maybe that's when I was healed, because my the swollen area was immediately gone. Maybe that's when it happened. Or was it the church praying? Was it did God use ivermectin, to heal me? Did, me speaking life over, my body, it was all of it. It was, he just, with his own hand, he just took it away. I mean, I kept thinking all of those things, and, but then I thought, well, it doesn't really matter how, but he just did it, and I just praise him for it. And then the other thing is, I, was thinking about like the fear, and it's just amazing how Pastor Rodney's, like, the last few weeks, what he preached on about fear, like he said to stomp on fear that one Sunday, and that's what I tried to do. And then the other thing that was amazing was because the Sunday he talked about, the Lord's Prayer, and he talked about, we need to know who we're praying to, and then he said sometimes it's difficult because some people don't have, or didn't have, an earthly father. And that resonated with me because I didn't grow up with a father. And I was always, throughout my childhood or even adulthood, different times, praying to God. It's like, would you show me what it's like to have a father? And then, that night when I felt him, like he was there, it was like I finally in those moments, that it was like, knew what it was like to have a father holding me and telling me it was going to be okay. And then there were some other things that just fit in with, Pastor Rodney's messages. And so I know too that, God has placed Pastor Rodney into this church, and I believe that there are going to be even more amazing things happening in this church, and in people's lives around the world. And I believe that God's going to start moving. And I'm sorry, I didn't want to cry, but I cry easily, but I just want to praise Jesus. I just praise him, and for what he did for me. I just had to share my testimony and let people know that he is still a healer, and he is a loving God, and I just give him all the praise and glory. Thank you for listening.